The night you lost everything, they stood there watching. Not with sympathy, not with regret, but with satisfaction. They whispered among themselves, amused by your suffering. You saw it, the smirks, the hollow apologies, the way they turned their backs as the flames of betrayal consumed you. They thought you wouldn't rise. They thought that pain would break you, that the ashes would scatter you into nothingness. But they forgot one thing. Fire doesn't just destroy. It transforms. You were never meant to stay weak, never meant to remain at their mercy. No, your suffering was not your ending. It was your rebirth. And now they see what they've created. The betrayal that lit the fire. It started with trust, didn't it? You gave them your loyalty, your kindness, your unwavering belief that they meant well. But people like them, they see kindness as weakness. They take, they use, they enjoy the power of watching someone crumble under their weight. They watched as you struggled. The moment you needed them the most, they vanished. The moment you cried for help, they mocked you. And when everything you had built collapsed, they stood there, silent, reveling in the destruction. You remember the worst of it. How they made sure there was no escape. How they ensured that when you fell hard. You heard their words. They'll never recover from this. You saw their actions. The way they walked away, leaving you to rot in the ruin they helped create. But they underestimated you. They thought the fire that consumed you was the end. What they didn't realize was that you were becoming something far more terrifying. Rising from the ashes. At first, the pain was unbearable. It clawed at your chest, whispered in your ear, begged you to give up. The world was cold, and you had no one to turn to. But something inside you refused to die. A spark. A quiet, unyielding ember that would not be snuffed out. You stopped waiting for an apology. You stopped expecting justice. You stopped caring about what they thought. Instead, you began to build. Not out of revenge. No, what was coming for them was far worse than revenge. You were forging yourself into something unbreakable. Days turned into months. Months turned into years. Every hardship became fuel. Every betrayal became a lesson. Every scar became a symbol of what you endured. And then, the fire inside you roared back to life. But this time, it wasn't a fire that destroyed you. It was a fire that would consume them. The fear they never expected. The first time they saw you again, they laughed. Arrogant. Dismissive. But something had changed. Your eyes no longer held the desperation they once enjoyed. Your silence wasn't submission, it was control. They tried to undermine you, but their words held no power. They tried to corner you, but you had already outgrown their games. And then, the fear set in. Because now, they saw it. The fire in your presence. The strength in your voice. The way you moved like someone who could not be touched. You didn't have to seek revenge. Their own actions had already set the trap. The very ones who laughed at your downfall were now scrambling, desperate to keep up with the force you had become. Now they fear you. They don't admit it, but you see it in their eyes. The ones who once relished your suffering now stumble over their words when they speak to you. The ones who thought you were beneath them now avoid your gaze. They whisper in hushed voices, wondering how you survived. How you became untouchable. And you don't need to explain. Because you already know the truth. They watched you burn. And now they fear the fire you became. They thought time would erase their sins. That you would forget. That you would stay buried beneath the ruins they left you in. But time did not heal in the way they expected. Time sharpened you. Hardened you. The fire they set to consume you only forged you into something unstoppable. And now, they can feel it, the weight of their actions pressing down on them. The fear crawling up their spine every time your name is spoken. They wanted you to disappear. Instead, you became their worst nightmare. The fire they can't escape. They try to pretend like nothing happened. Like they never laughed at your suffering. Like they never whispered behind your back, celebrating your downfall. But the past does not forget. And neither does karma. One by one, they start falling. Not by your hands. You don't need to lift a single finger. Their own betrayals come back to haunt them. The lies they spun. Now exposed. The power they stole, now slipping from their grasp. The people they manipulated, now turning against them. And you simply watch. Not with vengeance, not with hatred, but with a quiet, undeniable satisfaction of knowing they did this to themselves. The shift in power. They used to speak with confidence, with arrogance. No. Their voices tremble. They used to stand tall, looking down at you. No. They shrink under your gaze. They see it now, what they created. A version of you that no longer pleads. A version of you that no longer breaks. A version of you that never forgets. You walk into rooms, and the air shifts. They feel it before you even speak. The presence of someone who has been through the fire and emerged untouched. Their fear is your power. They try to make amends, to rewrite the past. But there is no going back. Because you are no longer the person they once tormented. The old you, the one who gave too many chances, who believed in their false kindness, that person no longer exists. They killed that version of you. And now, they are left to deal with what remains. The fire that doesn't just burn, it consumes. And this time, it's their turn to feel the heat. They watched you burn. Now they fear the fire you became.